The motivation thing is weird. I kind of, this is not to turn it personal, but everyone remembers when Tiger Woods had that issue with his wife and, and the affairs and everything, and kind of how his his competitive level fell off after that. And I remember I was younger, and during that time I was 100% immersed in weightlifting. That was, I could not imagine a world where weightlifting wasn't the number one, number two, number three, number four priority of my life, basically. And I remember thinking, like, well, why isn't he good anymore? What do you mean? How do you just lose that? But it's a weird thing, but you can't really help it. You can't, and that's what I try to tell clients is, like, you can't fake motivation. Well, you remember a time when powerlifting was your life, and that's all you woke up thinking about it, and you stayed up late thinking about it. And when you woke up in the middle of the night to take a piss, that's what you were thinking about, your deadlift that next day. But then when it goes away, it kind of goes away. It's a very weird thing, because I remember, like, the Tiger Woods example always stands out to me, because I just couldn't understand, like, how can you be the best in the world and now all of a sudden lose that focus? Like, what else is there in your life? But I mean, and then it happened to me where all of a sudden one day I woke up and my first thought wasn't my workout that day. It was whatever else, something else. And it's weird when it happens, and it's a difficult transition to make, and then it's a different transition to try to learn to navigate, where it's like, okay, this isn't, I don't bleed this anymore, but it's still an important part of my life. How do I mix things together and be a good husband and be a good father and still train, even though training isn't the only thought in my mind? But it's a weird thing if you've been that passionate about something and you think it's going to be that way till the day you die, and then the rest of life happens, and you kind of have to find a new way to navigate it.
And I used to think balance was stupid, and now I'm like, balance is life.
Yeah, yeah.
And every guy's going to go through this. Every young guy, it will hit you. I didn't think it would hit me. I looked at people in their 30s and thought they were old and stuff like that. And, it comes for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, the other thing, the people on top, your 15 minutes of fame is going to come to an end. It happens to all of us. My 15 minutes of fame kind of came to an end. It happens. I remember when, I was like one of the guys, and now, that was 6 years ago. And it happens to everybody. And then you have to pivot. Your whole identity has to almost change, because your whole identity is what you were doing, powerlifting. And now it's all these things. It's not just that one thing. And it's hard. It's a very hard transition. I struggled with it for years.
Yeah. If there's one thing, I could commend you, just as someone else in the sport, the fact that you went completely natural and were able to stick to it. I don't think people realize how hard that is, because when your identity is the strongest guy in the room, and you can still be the strongest guy in the room if I just keep doing those things that I was doing. That's a difficult thing when that's what everyone knows you as. That's where any room you walk into, you are, oh, that's Petey deadlifts 900 pounds, to just because you still want to deadlift 900 pounds. That's fun, but that's very difficult transition to say, no, I have more important things in my life now. I got my wife, I have my kids. I don't need to be that. But that's, everyone else still wants you to be that. And so it's a tough thing. It's a very difficult thing to kind of navigate, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's really hurt me business wise, and like, hurt social media wise, all that kind of stuff, to have done this. And I know, like, I could go on a trend cycle and boom, we blow this out of the water again. And it's it's one of those things. It's just, there's more other priorities. There's the balance thing now. So it's definitely one of those things you think about. It's not necessarily trend. I probably shouldn't do that because it makes me crazy, but just PEDs in general. It's hurt me going off. Like, it's hurt me business wise. So you lose somewhat of what people know you for.
Yeah.
One, I think and that's the unfortunate thing, because you have a wealth of knowledge as far as coaching and all the meets you've done, all the accomplishments, like, to help someone walk through that regardless of what walk of life they're in. I mean, there's just so much knowledge up there that it's that's kind of the hope, is and I'm hopeful for you and for others that as you're continuing to, you know, pump out content and things that maybe the volume isn't there, but hopefully the engagement can still kind of circle back now as a coach. And so you can, you know, pass on things, or even things that maybe you know, we would have done different, right? That you can kind of share and talk about that. Cause that's, you know, just all across the board, things that we try to discuss here too, is just, it's all, obviously, you know, first Detachment is our, as much a supplement company at the moment as it is an educational content business for us. And then, you know, we'll have other ways to expand to help more people in the future. But I think it's, you know, it's important to keep doing what you're doing and to get that knowledge out there for others, you know?
Yeah, it's you have to always be willing to pivot. The older you get, you have to always be willing to change things up and try going down different paths. So that's I know you guys know that, and you got to be more flexible, really. I don't know.
Well, and I just with some of that experience kind of being said, as I know we're coming up on time, so in a few moments here we'll get into some of our rapid fire round and just kind of wind things down. But I did want to ask a little bit more about, I know our listeners will want this, so we'll get a bunch of, you know, messages if we don't. A little bit more about like your training cycle, you know, specifically maybe for like these big deadlift numbers, you know, how far out you start working on it, what did the approach look like? I'm sure there's differences in each attempt, maybe in how your body's responding and such, but if you could give maybe an overview out there for our viewers and just kind of share what that looked like a little bit, I think it'd be interesting to hear what a 900-pound deadlifter, you know, kind of goes through in his approach to that big lift.
Yeah, so I'd probably start the training cycle roughly 12 to 15 weeks out from a competition. Deadlifting twice a week usually in those instances. I'm trying to look back because it's a little different now. Squatting once or twice a week, and then benching 2 to 3 days a week. So have anywhere from like 4 to 5 training days. And it's all about the main lifts. In powerlifting, you know, 90% of your training, I feel like, is structured around hitting bench, squat, and deadlift, because that's what you have to compete with. And there's the rule of specificity where you train that lift more frequently, you're going to get better at that lift. And that's what we tried to do. So I would also throw in other things, accessories wise, 45-degree back extensions with a barbell. I'd load those up really heavy, got a really good carryover from those, and I still do them to this day. That was one of my key movements. Seal rows, barbell seal rows I really liked, and push downs for triceps, things like that. But honestly, it's almost like a progressive overload, essentially. I just would maybe calculate out the starting weights for the training cycle based off of my max with a percentage. And then it was just adding, you know, 10 pounds a week or whatever over the course of 12 weeks to get to that peak. But one thing that I maybe used to do more of were like heavy singles. And now I don't believe in that as much. I think if you almost follow progressive overload format, hitting volume, you'll get to a point where you're primed to attempt like a 1 rep max, and you'll be just as strong as if you were doing heavy singles leading up to that, which are harder on the body. So I've kind of gotten away from those. But it's hard to really put into words everything, because now it's like a bench twice a week, deadlift once a week, and squat once a week, because recovery is is more of a thing, I should say.
Sure.
Not having aids and such.
And now, is there a mixture of when you're progressing towards that, is it pretty linear, the workouts as far as your increase, or is there more of like a speed day, you know, speed and or technique day, than a day where you're more focused on just raw, you know, total weights that you're moving?
Yeah, there's like a rotation. Like I'll have a day of variation on deadlift where it's like pause deadlift, deficit deadlift, banded deadlift. Then I'll have another day, higher reps, 10 rep sets, lighter. Then I'll have a heavy day, like a 4x4 day. So there is a rotation I'll kind of go through week to week. So I'm kind of hitting things from all angles, giving my body a break. But the emphasis is always on speed and powerlifting. If I'm hitting a bench set, it's maximum speed on warm-ups, maximum power output into the bar on every rep. That's kind of the thing. You don't see strong lifters lift slowly. Like, it doesn't happen. Speed is the name of the game. So every rep is with intent. And that's one of the biggest things. Like, if I see someone trying to be as explosive as possible, they're going to lift the most weights. When you see the people who are really like fast twitch and every one of the reps looks ridiculously fast, those are the best lifters oftentimes.
Can I jump in with the physics statement on that, because I'm so glad you said that, Pete. One of my biggest pet peeves is I see all the time people posting F equals MA on, and then trying to use that as the argument for whatever. People don't understand F equals MA. That force is the weight. MA, where A is acceleration of gravity. So F just equals mg, which equals the weight on the bar. You can't change that. You can't change F equals MA. That's my biggest pet peeve, because people always talk about that, but they don't realize if I'm benching 500 pounds, F is the mass of that weight times gravity, the force of gravity, which is 500 pounds. So F is 500 pounds. That is, I cannot change that. What I can change is power. And power is force times velocity, which is that 500 pounds times how fast you move it. And I never jump in, because I see people do that incorrectly all the time. But, you know, and not everyone does physics. And so I don't want to be the guy who's like tries to belittle someone or make them feel stupid. But I'm so glad you said that, because that is the one thing you can change, is your power. You can't change the force. The force is whatever weight is on the bar. By definition, the amount of power you apply is how fast you move that weight. And that's so glad you said that. I hope people are listening to that, because that is the key from a physics standpoint. That's all of it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I never even thought about it that way, but that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think the force is the force they're applying to the bar, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah, and that's what people
power.
say, but you can't. Yeah, force, you can't change that. Force is equal to the mass times acceleration, and on Earth, the acceleration is the acceleration of gravity. You can't change that. If a 500-pound bar is you apply 500 pounds to move it. That's it. The only thing you can change is how fast you move that 500 pounds, and that's power. And we're talking about power lifting. So obviously that's what we want to focus on.
No, it makes perfect sense. Like, it's a good explanation.
No, it's good. That's good stuff. All right. Well, we know we're coming up on time, and you were super flexible for jumping on with us on a weekend. So, thanks again so much for joining us. But we do want to get through our rapid fire round. Shoot, move, and communicate. Before I jump into that, Justin, was there anything else you want to say, or do you want to hit on the tail end of this? Is there any other questions or thoughts you had?
No, I mean, just in case I don't get a chance at the end. Pete's, I remember the washing machine days. I've been a fan of Pete since like the first time I saw his video. So it's a pleasure being on here with you, Pete. If anyone who knows me and wants some lifting motivation, search some of Pete's old videos. Nothing will get you more fired up for a deadlift session than watching some of those videos.
Good deal. All right, well, we'll get started with our shoot, move, and communicate round. So this round, Pete, is going to be, mainly maybe some one-word answers, but then there'll be a few you can elaborate on. So feel free to move freely throughout the shoot, move, and communicate round, and we'll guide you through these questions. So we have a couple layups to start usually. First one is, what accomplishment in competing has made you most proud?
The 772 squat. That was the hardest lift.
Okay, awesome.
For sure. Almost killed me.
Good deal. And now, what accomplishment outside of lifting competition has made you most proud?
I'm going to go with the cliche of having a child, having a daughter. I know that's so cliche, and anybody without kids would roll their eyes at that like I used to. But it really is like kind of it's a life-changing thing when you go through that. So a lot of work went into her as far as coming off everything and this whole journey. So it's been pretty cool to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and to jump in, sorry, but I don't think that's cliche at all, because there's two things. On all of our deathbeds, we're not going to be thinking about lifting. We're all going to have the same thought. I wish I spent more time with my family. And then the only legacy we truly carry on is our family, our children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good deal. Well, that actually leads to my next question: is one word that would describe you as a dad, what would it be?
Nowadays, I'd say relaxed. I'm not like relaxed parenting, but like just pretty chill.
Yeah. No, appreciate that. One word to describe you as a 900-pound deadlifter.
Nutcase.
So the opposite of
crazy,
relaxed, right?
Crazy.
All right, next one. if you had one word to share with to encourage young up and coming lifters, so outside of watching the washing machine YouTube videos, what else? What would be maybe a word or phrase that you would pass on to them?
Patience. Like you gotta. And I was the same way. Too eager. Not looking at the long term.
Got it. Good deal. All right, next one. If you had to miss one, what would it be? A meal, a night of sleep, or a training session?
Probably a meal. I mean, I like to eat, but I'd be fine with that.
All right. Good
I
deal.
get stressed out. I'm OCD if I miss training.
Well, this next one probably won't be as hard for you because you mentioned earlier you really like to eat, but while you were dieting with Justin, so during that 12-week phase, we'll say, what was your favorite cheat meal when dieting with Justin?
I don't know about cheat meal, but I really liked having orange juice. And when I was on those high carb days where I was like stuffed to the gills, but I was like, oh, I get to have orange juice. This is freaking awesome. So that was, and the bagels, there's the English muffins and bagels was pretty nice. I know that wasn't part of like a cheat meal, but I love that. That was fun effect.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. One word or one parallel, I should say, to, competition or you're competing, accolades, and life. What would be a parallel between the two that you see transferable?
Change. Like it's just everything's gonna always be changing, and you have to roll with it, or balance, I'd say. Like I said, I used to think balance was stupid, and now I think it's everything. So,
good deal. Well, next we talk about is, could you share just what are you most passionate about right now? Either, if it's a passion project at work or your training or family related, whatever the above.
I'd say I'm most passionate about, probably honestly, it's more, like I said, more balanced, family and training. I still love training. I still do it. And I look forward every day, but family has obviously come into the picture in a much, larger way now. So.
Good deal. Well, this last one you've talked about a little bit, but we're going to ask anyways, because it's in it's in our name and who we are in our DNA. But, at first Detachment, talk about being all in, and we say our products are battle tested to help people through everyday life's battles and things. So the question would be like, what is a battle you're working through at the moment, or that you're kind of looking forward to tackling in the near future?
I just say in general, time management, because the days are always so busy and there's so much going on, and you don't get much sleep. So just trying to figure out how to balance this whole lifestyle, because it's a lot more responsibilities being older.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, thanks again so much for coming on. And Pete, just so people can find you, you're on YouTube, Instagram. Like, can you share kind of some of those areas where they can locate you at?
Yeah, I mean, you can just find me on Instagram for the most part, or YouTube. Just type my name in, I'll pop up. So pretty straightforward.
All right. So nice and easy to find you out there. So thanks again for coming on, and for all the viewers out there, we appreciate you subscribing, comments, questions, notifications. As we mentioned, we'll have these segments coming out shortly, as well as many, many other lifters, Q&A sections. We're actually following a few athletes as they wind down to their shows and competitions. So be sure to do all that fun YouTube stuff to follow us along the way. Any closing thoughts besides nap time for my co-host, Mr. Harris?
No, I think it was awesome. I think that covers it. And,
I hope this gets some good views. This is one of my favorite podcasts so far. Like I said, I've been a fan of Pete's for 12 years. I can't remember when, since the washing machine days. So glad to have him on here. Yeah, appreciate you coming on. We definitely got to try to grab some time in the future. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments about wanting to see what your programming looks like. And again, they can always reach out to you directly and become a client and figure that out. But love to kind of dive into some of that a little bit more in detail. We have some plans for roundtables in the future to have a couple different coaches on and kind of get into the weeds a little bit. But thanks so much for joining us again. And for everybody out there, thanks for viewing, and we'll see you.
Yes, sir.